Greetings, ladies and managers, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called The Humans Are Mutating, written by In Yellow Clad. Lord Magister Senzok settled in his seat behind the quite large desk that dominated his office. Looking over the neon lines of the city, he remembered what it had once looked like. Towering skyscrapers, an obelisk of white stone clearly built by hand, not some natural formation. The seat of power nearby, another structure of white and strangely called a house. All that was gone now, replaced with the pure and holy designs of his species after they had liberated the planet from its sinful ways. He'd personally overseen the destruction of such impure structures, and, oh, how they filled him with such glee. Now, though, he wondered if perhaps they could have been purified in a far gentler way, the sins of their creators washed away through prayer rather than fire. How might such structures have been complemented the city that rose up over the old bones? He shook such blasphemous thoughts from his mind and whispered a prayer for forgiveness. He had a planet and a species to run, and speaking of the sinful humans, he had received a report with a rather strange header from one of the scientists in the Society of Anomaly Detection. As sinful as it was to think of things not being born of the divine, there were, at times, things that the faith simply could not explain, no matter how much hand-waving someone did. It was just rare for them to mark something as urgent. So he was rather eager and a bit concerned as he opened the report and began his reading, the aged Nezid leaning back in his comfortable seat, a human servant bringing him a drink. Classified materials enclosed, Sacra-Oven level clearance required, eyes only. From the office of the Grand Director, Mahikna, to Lord Magister Senzok, subject Anomalous Human TC4023-A. Greetings, Lord Magister. It is with the utmost urgency and concern that I write this message and enclose the required logs. Forgive me for my heresy, but I fear our grave people is in grave danger, and so I send this message to you in the hopes of bringing a swift end to the threat, once and for all. Held within this document are files pertaining to the anomalous human TC4023A. Please read them thoroughly. The threat this human and others like them pose is not to be underestimated, and proper countermeasures must be created. I pray for us all. Senzok stared at the leading message and felt disbelief color his scales. Humans that posed a threat. Certainly, during the invasion they had put up quite the fight. But now they were docile, loyal, and harmless. They could never become a threat to anyone, especially not those with divine protection like their masters. But he would humor Ihikna. He would see just what she was so fearful about, and so opened the first file. Log 1. The Society received word of an anomaly upon planet 0492-39819, Earth. Agents were dispatched to the slums of Seshlar City, formerly known by the locals as Montpellier. Anomaly was discovered to be human child, female. Approximate biological age of 6. Anomalous human has been acquired and designated as TC4023-A and transported to secure holdings for further study. Log 2. Subject TC423-A is a 6-year-old human female. Approximately 3.5 feet, Terran units of measurement are used, it seems appropriate, tall, and 30 pounds thanks to malnourishment. Aesthetic abnormalities are observed. The subject has bright pink hair, what the humans would call a bubblegum pink, and equally pink eye hues. At this time, we have not detected nor witnessed any further abnormalities, and shall ensure the subject acquires appropriate nutrition to return to a healthy condition. Log 3. It has been several days since the acquisition of TC4023A, though, in her own words, her name is Ava. For the purposes of official documentation, we shall continue to refer to her as TC4023A, but let it be noted for the record that our scientists have taken to using her given name when talking to her directly. As for writing this, there is still no sign of anything anomalous about TC-4023A beyond her aesthetic abnormalities. Several staff are hypothesizing that perhaps the strangely colored hair and eyes are the only things different about her. Whatever the case may be, we shall observe her a little longer to be sure. Should no further anomalies be present, she shall be placed with the surrogate family and her records placed in secure holding. Addendum. PC-4023A has exhibited clear signs of anomalous behavior while indulging in 1 hour of playtime. TC-4023A seemed particularly focused on a simple rubber ball. She did not physically touch the ball. It should be noted, yet after 2 minutes of intense staring, the ball began to levitate. Internal sensors located within the enclosure detected sudden and extreme gravitational surges, focused entirely around the ball, and when the alarms began to sound, the focused gravity anomalies ceased. Upon examination of the child, it was noted that she was excreting minimal amounts of human blood from her left nostril. Scans revealed no lasting damage to her body or mind, and she was cleaned up before being returned to secure holdings for rest and recovery. This has turned out to be worth our time and even, dare we say it, an exciting development. Lord Magister Senzok leaned back in his chair, unable to believe what had been written in the logs. The human had somehow been able to control gravity. That didn't seem possible. It seemed almost divine, which also shouldn't be possible. These humans were godless savages before his people came along and enlightened them. How could they have been blessed with such strange abilities? He scrolled through several more logs, most of which were the same. Minor testing followed by the child bleeding from the nose as she trained herself a bit too much too quickly. It almost seemed as though the society was trying to teach her how to harness her ability, perhaps so that she could be of service to the Holy Imperium. It would be a worthy use of such a gift. He shook his head and focused upon the logs once more. Log 3282. Ava has proven to be a particularly rebellious individual. Though based on research, this is normal for a human her age. Her abilities are growing exponentially, it seems, along with her intelligence. She's already crafted a basic tablet computer from spare parts in her downtime, and we worry that she'll find some way to infiltrate our secure systems. She's already proven to have a deep curiosity about the world outside of her room and the authorized areas she inhabits. On lighter and more interesting notes, we've recorded her using her abilities to manipulate gravity for rather mundane things. For example, when she grows tired of walking, she simply alters her own gravity and levitates wherever she wishes to go. We're not really sure how it all works, though it is assumed that she is in essence cancelling out the planet's gravitational hold on herself to a degree where she floats, and then creating another source of gravity in front of her which pulls her forward or backwards, really in any direction she wishes to go. Such a skill would be most useful to our workers and soldiers alike. We must find a way to replicate this. So, as agreed on, we will begin intense examinations of her DNA to ensure this is merely some form of mutation as hypothesized in earlier logs, and not some sort of divine gift. The examinations will be rather intrusive, but she has proven to be a resilient subject in the past. She can handle it. Log 3287. It has been determined that her abilities stem from genetic mutations. Outwardly non-existent in terms of her unnatural hair color, but these mutations have resulted in her strange abilities. As a result, we were running simulations on how to introduce such alterations to our own species. Though undoubtedly, we are a superior species in this galaxy, such powers would ensure our dominance till the end of time, no matter what sort of threat rose up against us. In the meantime, we had decided to put Ava to work. We shall fit her with several bleeding-edge augmentations that will ensure her survivability in combat situations, as well as loyalty and obedience augmentations to ensure she remains fully under our control. On a personal note, I find this decision to be difficult to make. I've spent the last 9 years watching her grow from, as the humans say, a snot-nosed little rat into a young woman, an intelligent, thoughtful woman at that. To alter her in such a drastic way feels almost, wrong. But it is for the good of our people, our Imperium, and it must be done. lest we lose control of her. I just pray that she can forgive me. Log 4383. AETHER has proven to be a masterful combatant. Her abilities enable her to use strategies our normal, unaltered troops are incapable of using, like creating shields of debris to protect herself from incoming fire, or hurling large and heavy objects at her foes. Perhaps the most startling use of her power is to simply crush those that wish to do her harm, increasing the pull of gravity upon their bodies, till they are little more than puddles of goo. It is amazing, yet also worrisome. Her body still shows no signs of augmentation, rejection, and her obedience has never been in question save for a few times after the surgeries. But those were merely tests of her capabilities on her part, not actual rebellion. Still, her demeanor has changed drastically. She's not nearly as rambunctious as she used to be, nor as vocal. If anything, she's become almost mute. We've attempted on many occasions to get her to open up and talk like she used to, but she's refused. It's not enough to activate the implants and force her to comply, but she still refuses to speak. Log 4384. I can see she's plotting something. She doesn't sleep anymore. She just taps away at her tablet. Whatever she's doing, our best hackers can't seem to discover. In their own words, the code she's written is somehow brutal, savage, merciless, and yet graceful and almost artistic. It shifts with every access attempt and every breaching program and adapts, almost like it's alive. Again, their words, not mine. Whatever it is she's planning on that device, we are not meant to know. Attempts to take the device and access its contents have all met with failure, as whatever password she's set is unbreakable, even by our best code breakers. We've tried to force her into telling us the password, but she refuses even that. Strangely, even when we give her a direct order to reveal it, her rebellion goes unchecked by the implants, as if they do not register her non-compliance at all. We shall have to run a few tests on them to be certain that they are actually working. In other news, all attempts at replicating her mutation have failed. Worse, those few of our species who volunteered for testing have perished in excruciating manners. I cannot condone further tests till we find some manner of replicating the mutation. Until then, I do not think it's prudent to release AETHER, or Subject TC4023A, out into the wider world at this time, not until we can ensure she remains obedient and loyal to our divine will. As for the other subjects we have located and acquired, many are proving to be more receptive to our commands. However, their abilities are vastly different from our own, but stem from the same mutation. We're unsure why this is, but we will find out. Senzak hummed in thought, having reached the final log. This was concerning, but this TC4023A could still be useful. They just had to find a way to control her. He made sure to send a reply thanking the good doctor for their warning and ordered them to use whatever methods they felt were necessary to keep TC4023A contained and subservient. He then closed out of the report and stood inside, watching as the sun dipped below the horizon. It was getting late, and he should probably head home. So he did, and in doing so completely forgot all about TC4023A. Several days later, he was busy looking over productivity reports from the land that was formerly known as China when he caught a flicker of motion in his peripherals. Looking up, he spotted a new face. Decidedly human, of course, as most of the servants were, but this was unexpected. Where was his personal human?
"There is Caitlin. You are not my usual servant,"
he said, his tone disallowing any sort of disobedience. The human girl, younger than Caitlin by a clear and visible margin, bowed quickly and averted her eyes, as she should when in the presence of a superior being.
"My apologies, my lord, but Caitlin grew rather ill and I was tapped as her replacement till she recovered,"
she said, her voice wavering slightly, as though worried he might strike her. Senzak frowned, but accepted the explanation. Humans did have a habit of having some rather extreme responses to being sick, and Caitlin was rather dutiful. She most certainly deserved a chance to rest, even if such rest was forced thanks to illness.
"Very well. I assume she informed you of all you needed to know?" Oh yes, my lord. I know everything I need to. Good, then bring me some tea.
He watched her leave and turned back to his work. Not 5 minutes later she returned, placing a cup down before him. He just picked it up and was about to sip when the priority alert came in from society. With a sigh, he used a claw to tap the open button and began to scan through the text. From the office of Grand Director AETHER to Lord Magister Senzok, subject anomalous human TC-4023A. TC-4023A has escaped containment. The base is on high alert. All attempts at activating the implants and kill switch have failed. TC-4023A has also released the other subjects. They are considered to be extremely dangerous. Current whereabouts of subjects and TC-4023A are currently unknown. Should you or our security forces encounter TC-4023A, it is recommended that the use of sleep gas and toxins to be used to subdue her. Kinetic, energy, or melee weaponry will have little effect upon her unless she is caught unawares. Furthermore, we suggest... Senzok was taking a sip of his tea when he spat it out, grimacing as the bitter taste defiled his taste buds.
This is terrible. What did you do?
He started to spit, but jerked backwards as his terminal was suddenly crushed by a great unseen force. Wildly, he swept his gaze around the room, alighting on a figure that felt fairly familiar. All humans looked the same to him, yet this one stood out. He squinted, taking in the pink hair, the pale skin, the clear marks of cybernetic augmentations. But what really held him were the eyes. Pink, much like the hair, but glowing softly.
Hey there, boss. Just wanted to say hi and all. Also,
TC-4023A, or other, as he recalled from the logs, said with a terribly cheerful tone to her voice. He was just reaching for the panic button when he saw her hand twitch, index and middle fingers curling slightly.
Boo! Gravcar be upon ye.
He was suddenly struck with a great feeling of terror as she smiled broadly, the glow in her eyes only intensifying.
What?
He managed to utter, before a Gravcar came stampeding through his office wall and splattered him all over the floor, walls, and ceiling. With a hum, as the glow in her eyes receded, she skipped on over to the still partially intact desk, sat down upon it, and raised her well-hidden tablet, whistling innocently as she tapped into the building's computer systems. A few viruses later, and it was entirely hers. With a flourish, she activated the city's PA systems and cleared her throat.
Attention, scaly arseholes. Your big boss just got splattered by a Gravcar, and I've laid claim to his desk. Or what's left of it. This, right now, is a courtesy memorandum. Either abandon Earth and her few colonies in peace, or suffer the wrath of yeeticus deleticus. For context, that means you're going to get thrown around really, really hard. Meantime, catch me if you can. Toodles.
And with that, she closed the connection, giggled, and hopped down off the desk. There was a revolution to conduct, and oh, how fun it was going to be. End of story. I would just like to thank the T5 supporters: Bushmaster 117, Caspar Arnholtz, Draxoon WRE, Elijah Silvercross, Gray, John Carrington, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.